Hello, team, and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan at MS Pierce. This is a Ukraine War, I guess, breaking news update. Just going to talk about one little thing very quickly. This is a big explosion in Moscow, and it's worthy of some discussion. There are very many claims as to what exactly has blown up or been blown up and how. A production line and ammunition depot for Iskander ballistic missiles has been destroyed near Moscow in a Russian uh, in the Russian nation, to translate what Michael McKay is saying there. So you can see that's a huge explosion. Uh, the Russians are claiming it's a pyrotechnics factory. They are admitting something's happened, but they're not admitting there's any kind of munitions or whatnot involved. There are very many different claims. Some claiming it's an ammunition sort of making shells. In fact, there are shells that have been littered around the surrounding area. As you've seen, someone claiming there that it's an Iskander missile factory, and others claiming it's a thermal optics factory, and this will affect the construction, the manufacture of tanks. So let's look at Special Kherson Cat here. Explosion, as said, on the territory of Zagorsk Optical Mechanical Plant. So this is the idea that it's optical equipment, possibly for tanks. Plant in Sergeyev Posad near Moscow. More footage of the explosion in Sergeyev Posad near Moscow, 520 kilometers from the Ukrainian front line. Let's have a look. You can see it is an impressive cloud. There is no mistaking that. Just let that play through. The cause is not yet known, but in the morning, Russian media reported the drone attack on Moscow. So if you remember from this morning's news piece, there were two drones that were shot down on the way to Moscow and near Moscow. The plant is known for producing military optics for the Russian army. Okay, as we go further down, we've got geolocation here. The approximate geolocation based on the video below. Let's go and pump that into Google and see where it takes us. Not nowhere far, nowhere fast. Possibly because it was being anywhere on my map, it will take us somewhere. So let's go and see where this is. This is Moscow. Not that you'd know Moscow particularly well, but there it is. And there is, I guess, there's Moscow. I was going to say that's not big enough to be Moscow. So that is somewhat northeast of Moscow, in Sergeyev Posad. Okay, we'll go back here now and I'll play this video for you just to give you an understanding of how big that was. I think they're indicating that there are things falling from that, possibly. I don't know. But anyway, and that's where the geolocation finds it. So the Russian media claim that the cause of the explosion in the hangar with pyrotechnics in Sergeyev Posad was a human factor, so someone smoking around the corner. A warehouse of an area of 1,600 square meters was reportedly destroyed. As you can see from that footage, there is quite a lot of fallout from and damage in the surrounding areas. Cars are being littered with rubble and bits and pieces and whatnot. So this is a really significant explosion. The director of the Pyro Ross company claims that the explosion did not occur in a pyrotechnic warehouse. According to Sergei Chankaev, the explosion occurred at a nearby warehouse where metal pipes were stored. At the same time, there allegedly was no combustible materials. What caused the explosion is still unknown. I mean, that is clearly one big explosion that was caused by something combustible, right? It doesn't just happen by magic. At the moment, the number of victims has increased to 40 people, Russian media Baza has claimed. Suddenly, footage of shells scattered near the site of the explosion began to appear in the media. So, of course, there's nothing combustible there, but there are shells sort of dropping down. It looks rather like combustible material of sorts to me, and the continued fires burning from the explosion. And here's another shell that's been found. So various footage indicating stuff like that. Another video of the moment of the explosion here. You can just see it there in the corner. It's a dash cam footage. This is pretty significant. Uh, is a pretty significant explosion, as you can see. The quality is not brilliant, but that is, yeah, something fairly combustible, I would imagine. Um, Either way, I mean, if it's an optics factory, that's brilliant. If it's an ammunition factory, that's brilliant. All these kind of options or different hypotheses are in favor of Ukraine, I would think. Area close to the epicenter of the explosion. So that is, pretty devastating. Um, but again, exactly what has taken place. We're at the early stages now. I don't quite know. Another shell, which has also hit a civilian multi-story building in Sergiev Posad near Moscow. Video showing the power of the shockwave during the explosion. Ooh, there are certainly a lot of those window frames flying around. So yeah, pretty dangerous stuff. Okay, the number of victims has already reached 50 people, according to Max 23. For some reason, ammunition is found throughout the territory of the plant, very similar to the artillery shells of 122 and 152 mil caliber. And then later on, you got this Moscow region video from the epicenter of the explosion at the factory in Sergeyev Posad. And this is again from Max 23. Not from his footage, of course, but he's sharing it. Really substantial explosion. There was certainly, I would imagine, there's got to be something to do with munitions there. But if it was, I did see some conversations somewhere that, if it was optics equipment, then that's actually going to cause quite a bit of trouble for the manufacture of tanks going forward, with the Russians claiming they've made claiming that they can make a certain number of tanks going forward to plug the holes of the lost tanks over the course of the war, and that would work against those claims. But it's early days yet. Don't know exactly what has happened, but I thought I'd report this to you. It is kind of a breaking news thing, and I think there'll be some interesting theories coming out over the next day or so as the dust settles. Anyway, I'm going to get on with my map update. I just thought I'd throw that one in. Take care. Speak soon.